Right, welcome to Activate Week 1 Math. Um, First question is basic algebra. I want you to solve for x. So remember, when you solve an equation, you're trying to get x by itself. You want to get rid of your addition and subtraction first, and then get rid of your multiplication and division. So I'm going to rewrite the equation out to the side. Okay, so we want to get rid of that 12 first. Here's x, it's on the left. We want to leave it over here by itself. We have to get rid of addition, subtraction first. You're basically, your order of operations, PEMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, you should remember that. Technically, when you solve an equation, you work backwards through that. So we want to get rid of that addition and subtraction first. So we're going to subtract 12 from both sides because we want to make this go to 0. We want it to go away on that side. And what you do to one side, you do to the other. So since it was adding, we're doing subtracting. Okay, all those things you should have heard your Math 1 teacher, algebra teacher say a lot. Okay, 4 minus 12 is a negative 8. So now we want to get rid of that fraction. Some people do it one thing at a time. Like you could just multiply by 2 on both sides, and that would get rid of the 2. And then you could divide by 3. The technical math way is to multiply by the reciprocal. So if we are being multiplied by 3 halves, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal, which means to flip it. So basically you're doing it at the same time. You're multiplying by 2 and you're dividing by 3 all at once, and it gets rid of that whole fraction. In your calculator, it'll actually divide by, even though you're not supposed to, the calculator will divide by a fraction. Okay, so you would type in negative 8 times 2 divided by 3, just the way I said it like that in the calculator. And if you do, it gives you a decimal, which is negative 5.3 repeating. Okay, and if you notice, all of your answer options are fractions, which you know it's not negative 8. But you could either turn this back into a fraction, or think about the fractions above. Negative 8 is understood to be over a 1. So that would be negative 8 times 2 is negative 16, and then 1 times 3 is 3. So you can pick out your answer from there. Or you could have typed all these in your calculator and see which one gave you this decimal. Or once you have this decimal, you could hit math, enter on your graphing calculator, and it will turn it back into a fraction for you. There's a lot of options to get to the correct answer. Okay, the next one is the rules of exponents, which you also should have done in basic algebra. So we have whole numbers, 2 times 5, and since they are whole numbers, you multiply them normally like whole numbers. So 2 times 5 is 10, so you know that it's going to have 10 out in front. And now we have to think about what you do with your exponents when you multiply. We have x to the 4th times x to the 7th. Remember, exponents mean you're multiplying it by itself that many times. So x to the 4th is x times itself 4 times, and then we're multiplying that by x times itself 7 times. Okay, so as you can see, total x is being multiplied by itself 11 times. So the basic rule is when you're multiplying and you have the same base, you add your exponents. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 10x to the 11th. Right, number 3, it says if f of x is that equation, then what is the value of f of 10? Notice the 10 is written where the x is written. That means 10 is the x. So to figure out f of 10, you're just going to take 10 and you're going to plug it in anywhere you see an x. I highly recommend you always put parentheses around everything you plug in. This one's not a big deal, but if that was a negative 10, it would make a huge difference whether you use the parentheses or not. So parentheses 10 squared plus 12. Notice I just did the top, putting a 10 right here, over parentheses 10 minus 6. So you could type in the top in your calculator and get an answer. 10 squared is 100. 100 plus 12 is 112. You do want to do the top and the bottom separately. If you type it in the calculator all at once, you most likely will do it wrong and get the wrong answer. And on the bottom, 10 minus 6 is 4. So now 112 divided by 4 is equal to 28. Okay, so just evaluating, plugging in. Number 4, let RS and T be positive integers. Okay, so basically they're whole numbers. They're not decimals. That's what it means by positive integers. RS is 24, ST is 36, and T is 3. This one's actually not that bad. It's like the last one where you kind of evaluate and solve, but you have to work your way backwards. If we know T is 3, then we can figure this one out right here and get S, and then we can take S and plug it in here and figure out what R is, which ultimately is what they're asking for. They're asking for R. So I'm gonna take that ST equals 36. I'm gonna put that 3 in for the T right here. So that would be S times 3 is equal to 36. To get S by itself, we want to do the opposite. So if it's multiplied by 3, to get rid of it, we divide by 3. We do that to both sides. So S is 12. All right, notice it's an answer choice, but we don't want S, we want R. So now that we know that, we're going to take this RS equals 24. Okay, we're going to take the 12 and plug it in for S right here. So R times 12 is equal to 24, and you should be able to do that in your head. R is 2. You're going to divide by 12 on both sides. Okay. So working your way backwards and paying attention to what they asked for. It's very important once you think you have the answer, like once I get to this 12, if I thought I was done because I see it over there, that I go back and read what they were actually asking for. All right, last one. Mel earned scores of blah, blah, blah on the test. On the first 5 tests, okay, so this is her first 5 tests in her class, solving which of the following equations for S gives the score he needs to earn on the 6th test to average exactly 85 points for all 6 tests. Okay, so keep in mind he's taken 5. He's going to take a 6th one. We want to see which one averages all 6 to equal an 85 average. Okay, so if we are going to average all 6 tests together, these should stick out in your mind as being wrong because we don't want to add that test in there and then still divide by 5. We want to add every test grade together and then divide by the 6th test. So if all of these add up to be 429, then the 429 represents the first test and the S is that other one. So we would want to add all 6 tests together and then divide by 6. So you can see that that one's the right one. Okay, you want to add all your tests together. This is the 5 tests, this is the 6th test, and then divide by 6 because you have 6 tests and that averages out to an 85. This one's not right because it's written out of 100. That would actually be 0.85, and if our we would need our test written in the same way with those decimals for it to come out right. All right, and we'll do week 2 next week.